Well, here we are a week later. We sprayed this last Sunday with the rest and slay, and I want to show you some discoloration, what to look for, and you'll know your herbicide was working. Now we're going to mow this off because it's a little high, and we just want to mow it off now and let the clover take over. So I'm going to show you, pan down here and show you some of the signs of the herbicide. Now you can see the yellowing of that broadleaf weed. They're all shriveling up, and as we go through here, the leaves are all bent downward, and some of the grasses, not all of them, because they're a little higher than what you wanted, but they're turning an off color. There's a good example of it. Where the sunlight hits them, you can really tell. You can see how that browned up. That would be your arrest max working there. And on the, you can see this here is turning. If the sun was brighter on this, it would be more yellowish. So that's just signs of what your herbicides did. And you go down through here and you can see that they're still there, but they're turning off color. And so what we're going to do is we're going to crop this off. And like I say, this is a week later after the herbicide. And these grasses, it may not show it, but they are yellowing up. And we got right down there with that nozzle. But they're still there, but they're definitely got a hurt on them. But so we'll mow this off, and here's a good example where we did the spray. You can see the off color of that grass. And that up in here, some more broadleaf weeds where they definitely got the hammer on them, but they're not green no more. They're yellowed up. They're basically dead. But what we're going to do is we're out here this morning, another broadleaf weed. You can see it bit the dust. So that's the sign to look for. And you're still going to have to mow. But now that we mow it, we're going to mow and we set this stuff back, and we're going to mow it high, but we will clip that grass off. And we'll have a uniform measure, because once again, as you can look down there at my boot, that clover is right at 12 inches high, and we'll mow it to where when we mow it, we'll leave it about 6 inches high. And it's supposed to be a little warm here in the next couple of days, but then we're going to get some extensive rain, and when we get the rain, that'll really get it going. But there's some grass right there that you can tell it's definitely hurting for certain. But and the nice thing about that backpack sprayer is when you get clumps like that, you can really put a concentration on that, and you notice there wasn't no weeds there, so you didn't have to worry about that. But you could directly target those areas where the grass was. So we got the big tractor down here today, and we're going to get this mowed off. And keep in mind, I'm not doing this for any financial gain, personal gain. I know who I am. At 70 years old, I don't have to impress anybody. All I'm trying to do with these videos is give you a hands-on, especially for you first-time people. It sort of blazes the trail for you, and you can learn from it other than just trying to push product. Now, that's what I make these videos for. It's not for me, but when we get this mowed off and that clover takes over really, really good, which is already 12 inches high, but we want to get some undesirables out of the society, so we have to crop them off. And in this case, it's broadleaf weeds and grass. We did plant this in 2015, so you're looking at a five-year-old perennial that's doing great. And you cannot go wrong. I know they got a lot of fancy names on a lot of stuff, but if you want to hold wildlife or have them to come to your property, you can't go wrong with a perennial. And that clover made by Whitetail Institute, I could care less about promoting them, but that's the name of them. They have the best of the best. The rest are just trying to seek capital gains by getting on the train. And but go with Whitetail Institute clover. I hear people say, that's pricey, that's that. Yeah, good stuff's pricey. But in the return is well worth it. Well, let's get to mowing. We got that mower set up high. And you notice right here, that clover, it never got touched. We didn't mow it. What we're trying to do, all we need to do is take these tops, these white blooms off. Clover doesn't need to go to seed. They seed themselves by root expansion. The more you mow it, the more they send out new runners. It's like sod. Some sod fields mow twice a week to stimulate the root system to grow. But as you can notice, from here to there, we're, let's see, on my boot, right there, well, let's put my hand down there. We're this high right there, as the mower went over, and we just step over here, and you can see how deep that is. So we're just taking the tops of it off. Like I say, we do got rain starting Thursday. Today's Monday, so we're going to have two days that are going to be hot. But back here it's shaded up pretty good. But at least we're back here before it gets wet with 3 or 4 days of thunderstorms, and that ought to make that really pop and go. But if it was going to be dry for a long period of time, we're getting into that time that you may not want to mow, because if it's going to be dry, then it puts your clover under a lot of stress. But it's rooted down, and back here, remember, you're in the low. You plant in the low ground with the clover. That way they can tap into the moisture. What we're going to do here is go over the use of herbicides. The last video I showed spraying herbicides, and I had some comments, which I respect. Why do you got to use herbicides if they're that dangerous, and what do they do to the habitat, and so on and so on. Well, I can understand your concern, because there are a lot of stuff out there that can do damage. But if you follow the proper protocol and do what's on the labeling, and you're probably on the safe side. And it's something that you're not being wrong by not wanting to use herbicides, but it is a common use today. And they did a lot of scientific research on it. And like anything, there is faults with things. But I want to show you something. Now, this was the field where we came in March, and we frost seeded that clover. Now I'm going to take you over here. Now this has had no herbicide whatsoever on it this year. Now this is what some of you may be faced with. If you don't want to use a herbicide, I understand that. And this has had no herbicide whatsoever. Now you can see the grass is in there, the brown grass, but you can also see the resurgence of the clover. And when you get over here, the clover is pretty strong. It's not too bad for just being frost seeded. So if we can stay ahead of broadleaf and the grasses. That's what I'm trying to say. The clover took hold with minimal amount of tillage, basically no tillage. This area was, seeded down at frost seeding sometime in the middle of March. And here, so it's been, well, if you, April, May, June, that would be 90 days. And so you do got a pretty good stand of clover there. And you can see as deep as my hand, and absolutely no herbicides. But yeah, you do have the grasses here, and trying to mow them back, to set them back without the use of herbicides. So yes, you can grow food plots without herbicide, and yes, you can do it with minimal tillage, but you're going to have somewhat minimal results. Now over in this area here, that clover grew in super good. I mean, that's just pure thick clover, and all that was frost seeded. But there's still spots that are going to be questionable. But what I'm taking the time to do this for is just for the person that lives in an area that doesn't have access to herbicides, or is not allowed to use them, and you have minimal tillage equipment. This don't get any more minimum than this. This was frost seeded right on the bare dirt, and like I said, this is June 15th, and you did get germination of your clover. And but if you keep mowing it and keeping, that would be your mowing and hand eradication of broadleaf weeds. You can do it without the use of herbicides. I just wanted to make that statement clear. But you're also, when you do that, you're also going to have a little more time involved with the mowing, because you're going to have to keep after that. But just wanted to clear that up. Now we're going to come here and mow the tops off of this. Now we treated this last Sunday, a week ago, with the Rest Max and the Slay herbicide. And we'll just take a walk about. Now you can see the browning of that grass there. But you can also pan over here and see that this one is quite healthy. So we'll hopefully pull him. I didn't get him out, but so sometimes you're going to get them. But like I say, if you use that backpack sprayer and you come into an infestation, you can really put the rate on a little higher. Now there's some dead grass right there. You can see it's all shriveled up. See the discoloration of the leaf right there, and that's what you want. There's another one. It's all brown, and it's killed the root system. We're walking this to make sure there's no fawns in it. And here's an important part. You notice I went in there, all that has died, and I killed that seed bank out. I sprayed that with the mixture, and that way those aren't going to go to seed. Well, this has been treated with herbicide, and we'll get her mowed off here this morning. Now you can see firsthand how tall that clover is. It's definitely over the top of my boot, and it's June 15th, and it's going to bloom. So now when we cut that, we're going to cut it high. Keep your rotary mower set high. Don't scalp it, because we're going into the dry period of the year. And try to mow with rain in the forecast so that it'll get a resurgence. But keep that mower up. Don't be scalping the ground. Now you see the clover here? It's about that high, where it's over my wrist here. That's pretty deep, but we'll leave it here. Got good growth in there, and what that will do is stimulate the new growth The new growth is tender. As the clover gets older, it loses some of its nutrient value and it gets a little stimmier. But with Whitetail Institute, with this brand of clover, it still stays a lot less stimmier and more desirable than most ag clovers that you're going to run across. Here it is, right at 8 o'clock, first day of summer. 2020. You know, back in the 50s, if you seen a rabbit, that was dinner. And today, people scoff at that. Labeled squirrels as tree rats. And I don't know how many fathers went squirrel hunting, and that was big time game hunting. First modern day deer season wasn't 1953. But most of the men back then spent their time squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, and especially pheasant hunting. There weren't no turkey hunting season at all. There wasn't even no turkeys. So things change, some for the good, some for the worse. But, we'll just meander down here on a calm morning. What we're going to do, it's so majestic right after rain. It's cool. Old Mother Earth was definitely thirsty. And we'll meander down here, take a look at the corn. We planted that on like May 1st. So here it is, the first day of summer, which that's 20. If you had about 30 days in May and 20, that'd be 50 days. So let's see what happened. Here's some of the results of spraying that Canadian thistle. That really took it out. That corn right there is roughly 44 inches, 43 inches tall. And it's way past my waist. Weed free. But it didn't come out, didn't happen. And it's what I call laid by. Now as this warms up, it's going to shade those rows out. And the weed will not be able to get any sunlight, therefore it won't grow. Now, I just wish that more people would work. And when I say work, I had to work to obtain the ground. I had to work to get the crop in, buy the equipment. Nobody handed that to you. And you applied yourself in a positive way. And your reward is this field of corn. It was so much better raising corn than raising hell in the streets of our country. And so far more rewarding. And I just wish that, I mean, when you look down through there, ladies and gentlemen, you were there on the tractor when we were planting this. And like I say, I can show this. Here's the corn. It's up to my waist. And that's the first day of summer. There's no better reward than that, other than fathering a child and nurturing them along as you do an ag crop, and feeling the reward and watching your children mature ethically, mentally, disciplinedly. It's just like raising corn. There's nothing more rewarding than to see what you're seeing here. And like I said, you were on the tractor when we were doing this. So it's just phenomenal. Here's another food source right here on the edge of the cornfield, a mulberry tree. And between the birds and the deer, they can come nibble those berries off. If little Donnie was here, he'd be getting them. Right there. It's nature's way of giving back. Delicious. But, our beans are doing somewhat, but these in here I'm going to leave. They're doing pretty good. They're pretty clean. This part over here, I was reserved about spraying it with any residual herbicide this year, and because that area right there that's weeded over, I'm going to take out, and but this area in here with the beans I'm going to leave, because that's summertime forage, and that'll give the deer something to browse on, and they're getting pretty good protein and stuff out of that. But as you look up through there, they got, and I planned it that way. This wasn't neglect. I just wanted to see if the beans was going to go. They'd go, and what grew, grew. But we'll be taking that weeded area out and coming in with a late season Barasta type food. So that was my plan. But like I say, these beans over here, they did pretty good, or they're doing good now that they got the rain. But yeah, if this area stays, that's fine. I'll let them mature, and then the other area I'll tear out. And like I say, that was planned. But you have to plan that on the beginning. Yeah, we're back on that way back. And this field here, as you notice, we mowed this last week. And so it's been a week since we mowed it. But on this field, we've used no herbicides on it. No rest, no slay. And that's for some of you guys that can't or don't want to use a herbicide. And you can see the lushness of this clover. And after this rain, it's really even just going to take off that much better. But it's solid clover in there. And I know I had some comments about using herbicides and why do you need it. Well, here's a good example. If you can get ahead of the grasses and the weeds, mowing will offset that use of herbicides. But you've got to do timely mowing and have timely rains. And you can see there's no broadleaf weeds in there. And it's just, like I say, you give it just another week of growth, and it's really going to look beautiful. And what makes it look beautiful is you don't have a bunch of weeds sticking up out of it. But like I said, this area that you're looking at right now has had no herbicides on it this year whatsoever. We hand eradicated the weeds last year and tried to get them before they bloomed. And now with this half-inch rain, this stuff is going to just blow up out of the ground. So just wanted to show you the results of an area that had absolutely no herbicides used on it. And there's an undesirable right there. That's a big old thistle. Matter of fact, if you don't take care of those, the county will come down because that's an invasive species. We'll knock him down, get him down on the ground before he goes to bloom. The whip's still there, but he's done for this year. He's not going to foster any undesirables. Just something about walking through your woods after a good rain. It's almost heavenly. Well, here's a clover plot that we're down on and sprayed it with the Rest Max and Slay. And we mowed it after that. Well, a week after it. And so it's not been quite a week since I mowed this. But it's magnificent. And just to be able to take a raw piece of ground like this and turn it in to a food source for all wildlife. It's just, well, it takes a commitment of labor, finances, and but if you're not willing to spend either one of them, you're not going to do this. But, it's just so rewarding to do that. And this clover, I want to measure it. That clover is right at 10 inches high and really thriving. And but this stuff doesn't happen without your aggression of labor and willingness to buy the correct herbicide and apply it at the right time and do the mowing. It's so rewarding to know that a few years ago this was just it was just a field of that. Not that that doesn't have some food source to it, but once you intervened, you just made it that much better. Non-typical's way of making a bridge. Old dead tree fell down and I stuffed it in that drainage right there, and now I can drive across it with the tractor. It'll get washed out when I get a big gully washer, but until then, it gives me access back here to this field. And this is the field that we videotaped 2 weeks ago, where we used the herbicide, and we put the burnt down on it. You can see how it burnt that grass off. Here's where that big tree came down, where I got the logs for that crossing down there. Just blew across the trail. I just took that side of the logs and put it on the mower and took it down there and put it in the creek. In nature, nothing goes to waste. You just gotta see an opportunity. Well, I hope you like that little walkabout. Corn's doing good. Clover's doing good. And won't be long, we'll be starting some tillage up there on top to eradicate the weeds out of there, where we're going to plant our late winter brassica oat type crops. And but everything's going to take off real good now after that half-inch rain. We're supposed to have more rain today. So rain makes grain, and without it, it makes pain. So well, that's it from the non-typical.